Hello guys, my name is Trevor Ilesley, teaching the understanding of the Dark Night of the Soul series. Today we're going to be talking about how did I understand the Dark Night of the Soul, and I think this is the best way for me to explain it, is if I give you my story, then maybe it may just resonate within you. One of the possibilities and the pure potential of who you are as a being can be quite astounding. What is the ultimate goal really of the Dark Night of the Soul? And that's to understand what is the gift and what is the power of healing. Healing is a word that has been misused, misguided, and apparently only one being on the planet that stepped foot on this planet 2,000 years ago was the only one that could heal in the way of miracles. Healing the blind, healing the deaf, and awakening from the deathbed is quite simple really, because it's a metaphor. To heal your own eyesight is what the Dark Night of the Soul is all about. What are you seeing? How do you see life? And most importantly, how do you see yourself? Many people don't like what they see in the mirror. You have to get to the point to understand what is it that you don't like. I got to that point when I looked at myself and I started to speak to myself in such a way that it wasn't very nice. And so therefore, when I went through this journey of trying to understand the greatest important words really, which is what is the meaning and purpose to life, why am I here, and where am I going to? What is my greatest achievement? There's two aspects to that. You can either give to life or you can take from life. I've always wanted to give to life. I wanted to be able to achieve something that was of benefit. At first you kind of think it's about money and it's about having a big house and a nice car. But when I got to the point within my journey, I realized that I was in a lot of conflict, I was in a lot of pain, and I tried so many things to be able to make it in the wide world, to say that I did something. But what did achievement actually mean? What was success? It wasn't about my money, it wasn't about my job. When all of that got taken away, it left me with me. So I knew there was no one out there that was going to help me to understand what on earth was going on. So I devised a program called Be Me, and I needed to talk with me. And this is the most important thing really. It's the greatest aspect of who you are, because if you don't talk to yourself with love and respect, then how do you expect to get the best from yourself? We've all been programmed to believe that love's going to come towards us and that somebody is going to give us love. Maybe money, maybe the whole works, the house and everything else. Mainly a man will come into your life and call you the princess and make everything all right. I love the fact of where we are as human beings, and it's a great adventure. But when it comes into depression and the Dark Night of the Soul, which I've spoken about before, it's an experience. So why do you experience this? What is it getting you to do? As I said, it's all about healing. Healing the blind, healing the deaf, but healing your own blindness. I really didn't take much in about what life was all about. I didn't understand what it was all about. I just looked at it and thought, okay, well, it's life, just get on with your life, and at the end of it, you just die, and so what, big deal. And then the Dark Night came in and sort of said, what are you doing? Why are you being like this? What is it that you're after? What is it that you're doing? It's almost like the hand of God comes in and says, stop. Take access of what you're saying to yourself, what you're saying to other people, and most importantly, what are you achieving? I wasn't achieving anything really, because I was running on ego, I was running on a program, and that program was technically broken. Inside, I didn't realize that I was keeping myself so busy on the outside that I'd never stop for one moment to understand what was going on in the inside. And it works like this. Let's say you go to your job and you show the world that you're happy and that you've got a big smile on your face and that everything is okay. You seem to have everything in hand. But what happens when you go home? You become this different person. You may be miserable. You may be angry with your children. You may be frustrated with your parents. There's two aspects of who we are. And I looked at it and I thought to myself, why can't I just be the one being? Why do I have to chip and change because of certain people that I meet or certain job that I do? Why can't I just be the one person all the time. It doesn't matter where I'm at. And that's what I decided to do. So I decided to have a chat with myself. And the moment came when I got so angry in my life that all of a sudden I saw this rage, I saw this anger, and I saw this pain sort of come out of me. And it was at that moment that I kind of grabbed it by the throat and said, me and you are going to have a chat. I looked up to the heavens and said, you know what, help me out down here because I'm in trouble. I don't know what to do. I don't know why I'm here. I don't know why my mind is messing up. And I don't know why I'm so angry. I was talking to myself. Basically, I was talking to the ceiling, hoping that the ceiling was going to give me some answers. But you know what? The interesting thing was I did get an answer, and it was a voice that came booming out of the walls that it seemed in my house. And I said to the ceiling, what do you want me to be? And this voice just said, be me. At that moment in time, I sort of jumped back and thought, shit, is there someone in my house? And then it got to a scary point, really, that said, where on earth has this voice come from? I thought I was going mad, and I thought, my God, I'm going crazy. I've got schizophrenia. I'm hearing voices. There was no way I was going to go to the doctors, obviously, and explain this one. I just knew what the story was going to be, and I could just see the men in white coats coming to get me. That wasn't going to happen. So in that moment, that was the question. Who am I? Who are you? That's the most important thing, isn't it? And when I asked that question, do you know what? I didn't have a bloody clue on who I was and what I was doing. But what I did know was I was a very emotional, angry man. And there was part of me in that said, I don't want to be that. That's not who I am. That's what the program has got me to believe. That's all of my experience that's accumulated to a point where I just felt it all. And that is the dark night of the soul's opportunity to step in and say, are you ready to listen to me now? And it's an interesting thing because it's almost like as if you feel somebody step into you. And at that time I was like, what is that? What is that energy? And that's where you get that 1 minute you're all right and the next minute you're not all right. And you think to yourself, I ain't doing that. That ain't me. What is going on within myself? Why does my energy keep changing? Why can't I sustain this energy? You know, one day you get up and you feel good and you think, great, let's get on with the world and let's show everybody how happy I am and the personality of who I am. And you'd go to bed and you'd be happy as a sandboy and you wake up in the morning and you think, fuck, I'm miserable again. Can't even get out of bed. Something's gone wrong. It's like somebody has turned the lights off. And it just didn't make sense to me. So I knew there was two of me. And I needed to understand who was this two beings, who was the communication that I was having within my head. Because the voices in my head just basically didn't like me. I didn't like myself, which was a bit of a shock really, because I thought I was all right. And so therefore, I began a communication. So I'd done all the spiritual thing, I'd looked around at different people, read different books, but nothing was making sense to me. There was nothing there that made me feel like, oh yeah, that's the path I'm on. That's the way I'm going to do it. It just didn't happen. So I decided to do the very best thing. I was going to write a letter to my soul and ask it, what the fuck are you doing? Because I needed some answers. So if there was two of me, one of them was angry, but I knew there was a teacher in there. Somehow I just knew. And I knew that if I could just change the power of the words and communicated with myself using a guideline of a set of words, then surely I would understand what healing meant. I had a lot of healing to do. My mind was all messed up. My emotions was all messed up. How did I shift through that shit to understand, and where did it all come from? So that was the moment. I decided to write down about me and try and get this pain out of me so that I could kind of understand it. Because whilst it was still inside of me, see, it was just going around in my head. I needed to get it out into the open, bring it into the reality so that I could actually read what I was thinking. And you know, the interesting thing is you don't actually think that much. Think about it. That's the thing, isn't it? What is life all about? What's the meaning of your life? Well, it's determined by your thoughts and the clarity of your thoughts. And do your thoughts like you? Do they guide you? No, my thoughts wasn't guiding me at all. And you know when you're looking at your thoughts and you kind of think, well, you're doing something, but your thoughts are saying something else. And that was the bit I thought, why did God create us to have a separate identity? It just didn't make sense to me. Why was I kind of getting into something and I had this voice saying to me, what are you doing that for? Oh, that ain't no good. You don't want to do it like that. And I thought, who the fuck are you? I needed to understand. And of course, when the shit happens and you're sitting at home scratching your head sort of thinking, my God, why am I so bored? Why am I so angry? And you've got this voice making you feel like that you're complete worthless and it's just no good. And I thought, this ain't happening. This is no good. I can't be doing this for the next 30, 40 years. I might as well just forget it. Give up, Trev. And you know what? When you look at the homeless, I think that they are the people that actually give up and said, this is bollocks. None of it makes sense. What is the point of holding on to anything? And so therefore you start to diminish yourself, hoping that you'll find the answer. Almost like giving yourself a kick up your arse sort of thing to make it make sense. You know what I mean? You know, you badger yourself to say, come on, get up, get going. What's the matter with you? Stop being useless. Stop whinging and whining about what your life is all about. Stop it. Get over it. That wasn't happening. That wasn't making sense at all. So this series, we're going to be talking about you. And I'm going to share with you what came to me just through connecting with myself. You've read many books as much as I've done, but they're other people's stories. So I'm going to help you to understand you. Now, who are you? You may say that you're a woman. You may say that you're a man. I have to question that because I don't know if we know that to be sure. I know we're opposite and it's as simple as that, but who says you're a woman? And who says I'm a man? Men do what men do and women do what women do and we try and get along. But you know, the biggest war on the planet, it's not the war that you think it is. The biggest war on the planet is between man and woman, and the second biggest war is going off in your head. Think about that for a moment. How many relationships did you actually get on with? Because it's all right in the beginning, isn't it? They're great, you're full of fun, spontaneity, you feel like it's love, but 2 days prior to meeting somebody, you was hiding under the duvet, wanting love, wanting something, wanting a relationship to come and save you. And of course, when you meet somebody, it's like, oh, hi, how are you? You know, yeah, I'm great, ha ha ha. It's all so funny, isn't it? And let's do this and let's do that. And then after a while, you know what's coming, don't you? You just sort of fall back into the program. And it goes like this. What's the matter, babe? Something wrong? Oh, well, you know, I just don't feel right today. You know, I just got a bit of the hump, really. And then all of a sudden, that seems to be the moment, isn't it? Then what is that? And then that person might start to get angry and frustrated. And you look at that person and you think, well, that ain't the person that I met. And to be honest with you, hands up. And everyone put their hands up. Who's done exactly the same? Who's tricked people into believing that you're the greatest thing they've ever met? We've all done it. But you know, the interesting thing is, you can't sustain it. And you know why? Because it's a bloody lie. It's false. You showed an expression of yourself that you thought was a winner, and it didn't work, did it? And so therefore you reach this pinnacle of how great you are, and then slowly it starts to come down. You meet this lovely person, this kind person, and then it turns out that they're a psychopath. But each being that you meet, you have to remember this. You're meeting someone's past face to face. Think about it. Have they got daddy issues? you've all got relationship issues for sure. Because each relationship that you've been in, as you get into one, it's great. And as I said, and as you leave it, you hate them. And then you hate yourself. Then you go through this process of loneliness and destroying yourself, and you make certain requirements of yourself, don't you? You turn around and say to yourself, I ain't doing that again. I'm actually going to shut down my love. I'm not loving anyone anymore. It's too painful. It hurts. So you start to toughen up and you start to get a little bit stronger. And you know, in actual fact, what you're doing there is that's where you shut your light off. I made that promise within myself, you know, after a while, that I wasn't going to do that anymore. I wanted to be me. I wanted to be me. That it didn't matter who I met. It didn't matter what job I was. I just wanted to be the one being. And I shared that one being with everyone. And so therefore, I didn't have to change anything. I didn't have to falsify anything. I was just being me, basically. But we all do it, don't we? So how many characters are in you? And when you get to the scientific fact of it, or you look into your DNA and you understand this other side, almost like a quantum side of where we are in humanity, on theories, I suppose we would call them, what we have discovered. And I got to the point where I wasn't just being me, really. I was being my entire family. So I am a process of maybe, I don't know, maybe 1 billion years. That's how long it took me to be here. But of course, we just think you're 21, 22, 40, 50, however old you are. But no, stop and really delve into the mechanics of it. You're in a process of 1 billion years old. And what stands before you is the accumulation of an entire journey of your ancestors. So how many characters am I being in me? You know, there was one point where I discovered that there was a writer hidden within me. Now, I didn't learn about writing and I didn't want to be about a writer, but it exposed itself, it expressed itself because it needed to happen. And I questioned it and I thought, is this really me? Or was I tapping into an ancestor that may have been a writer? Maybe one of my ancestors wrote a book. Maybe many of them had. Maybe my ancestors were very creative beings. And then again, on the other side of it, maybe my ancestors were a bunch of crooks, maybe even murderers, rapists, abusers, maybe hated women, might have been gay. How many of them lived to an old age? It's hard to know, isn't it? And I think that's what the sad thing is about life, to try and understand who you are. It's impossible because you're made up of so many people in there that, who am I? It's a big one. Everyone's looking for the answer, who am I? And there's many theories on who you are, but none of them made sense to me. You could say you're a child of God. I kind of get that a little bit, but religion's kind of coined God, haven't they? They've put that in the back pocket and said, we're in control of that. It's all about listening to you. And this is what the Be Me process is all about. It's understanding you and connecting with yourself. So this is what the Dark Night of the Soul series is all about. And I'm going to teach you to be able to connect with yourself.